Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Is the ghetto, you didn't see it.
And there are ghettos as far as Bukungu in Buyende. And so the policy is to build a ghetto network that is available for dam leader to deploy and meet terror in the whole country. In the whole country.
Specifically for election?
And other things. But as we are talking about elections, yes, for elections. I just saw it in the NRM primaries. I know about that. And if you talk to the people of Budiope West, they will tell you. I like what is happening because we don't have to talk much anymore. Every section of society has tasted the wrath of this dysfunctional electoral process. And so it has been mobilized and prepared to defend itself. What the trigger will be, I don't know yet. But I know that for as long as what is being planned for the citizenry of Uganda, for as long as it happens and we are participating so that it happens, it will shorten our pain.
So is the country walking a risky path?
No, it's walking itself to the inevitable end. You know, longevity has its own attrition. And we all become victims of a dysfunctional system. And because we then removed all the constitutional safeguards and diluted the legal framework of securing a voting environment in order to give power to the people, we have to pay. It is inevitable. You see, nature tells you that you reap what you sow. And so what is being sowed is what we are going to reap, and it has come full throttle. If I give you an example of my community in Busoga.
Right.
A community where the economic opportunities have been diminished by government policy. Remember, we were the industrial hub of this country. And now we are the sugarcane cutters, the slave crop. Not mechanized, but manual. And therefore, all the kids that have dropped out of primary 6, who have failed to have money for registration of UNEB, those ones who have failed to make it to senior 4, they are all successful sugarcane cutters.
Successful?
And yes, they are very successful. They hold pangas every day as a way of living. Now the sugarcane, now I was told this weekend, sugarcane, a ton of sugarcane goes for 100,000. You know a ton of sugarcane? 1,000 kilos of sugarcane at 100,000 shillings. That community can never be viable. And therefore it's a vulnerable community and it is a very big danger to society. And so you have layers and layers of cumulative failure with no response, government response. What do you think you have created?
Because you see, when Kyagulanyi came up from ghetto, the NRM, I think the president assigned those people in the State House. They started with Kamucha visiting everywhere. Their response was that go and group them and give them money. They now have promoted that into a project. So young people now, it's become a very big enterprise. I see it even in my constituency, even where they don't exist, where there is no ghetto. Younger people must be made to conduct themselves and act like criminals and dress like criminals, because NRM is looking for criminals to hire, and there is money for them. So if you have dropped out of school, university, you can't find a job, just tie something around your head and begin conducting yourself like a criminal. Then the Damurida will be knocking at your door. There is a fund for you. Ofwono, you have abused this country.
I think this is a legitimate concern that's being raised in
for you to qualify for money now, easily.
You have to be a rogue.
You must behave like a criminal. You must behave like a criminal. You say ghetto. If you are in a home, you walk out.
Let all respond.
You know, there was a time in this country when if you wanted a visa to the UK quickly, or to Canada and America, you change your name from Semuju to Okot. And some of them still live there, the Semujus, but they call themselves Okot.
So the new fashion
now, ghetto, disaffected people who are disaffected economically is a result, a function of our economy. That is not transforming quickly enough, and that economy is serviced by the type of education that we have. And so eventually, we are creating urbanization, but without corresponding skills and jobs. So it has created those. Now, the government makes responses that it deems fit. Unfortunately, it has been simplistic. I personally don't agree with giving, I agree with engaging youths or groups that have turned into organized criminals, to persuade them, give them education, mindset change, and some empowerment, seed capital or tools to start a new trade from which they can earn legitimate earnings or income. But I don't agree. But I don't even agree with this PDM, because, in my view, it has turned Ugandans into the government wanting to spoon feed. And yet those policies, in my view, are not well thought out. Now, I don't know what skills.
You're shooting down the magic bullets of your boss.
Yes, I don't know what magic skills a military officer Damrila has. I think he has skills to detect crime, persuade people probably to get out of crime, but I don't think he has the requisite skill that can effectively transform somebody economically via seed capital for investment.
Is the reincarnation of Kakoza Mutali?
So I don't agree with it, but I think it is an effort made in honesty, not to perpetuate gangs in our politics. I don't think that's the intention of the government. I don't think that's the intention of Damrila. But it is possible that his enterprise is being infiltrated or taken advantage of. Many of us, those of you who have been in elective politics, you know, there are many people who join your rallies, join your campaign meetings for other things, other than to mobilize support for you or to moralize support for you. And we have not only done that in the so-called ghettos.
I just need to tell our viewers that we're switching.
Look at our politics today. It started from the NGO world, these guys. They were the ones coming to train people where they say, we are going to teach you this. And they started by giving them, first of all, food, some tea in the meeting. We mutated into transport fund. Where have we ended now? We have ended up on extortion that even when you call people for immunization of their children, they will ask you, or to Oganda to Wanshi, are you going to give us food? Are you going to give us transport?
Is it an NGO culture or an NRM culture?
No, it came from. It came from NGOs taking advantage of the NRM freedom to say you can fundraise and spend your money the way you want. Maybe collectively we need to step back. The interventions we are making, for example, when I said the PDM, in this campaign. No, listen.
I think we are looking at the nuisance of guns.
Of the army to Kaweweta. And these are the ones who lead units. And they invited different resource persons, including the Electoral Commission, where the chairman was, to talk about what are their roles in election, in law and in the Constitution, and also what is expected of them, so that no officer tomorrow comes and says, I did not know.
So it's common practice?
It is a common practice.
They go for orientation?
Yes.
And when they come back?
No, never mind what the command could be, or what the behavior of an individual officer may be. Last week, for example, I was invited as a candidate, but also as somebody who recently was speaking for government in Bukid. Bukid is Busia, from Busia to Parisa. We also had a whole day there. It was a joint meeting of police, the army, prisons, RDCs, and the intelligence services, particularly ISO.
What were they discussing there?
And there were, basically they were discussing their strategic plan and posture. For example, if you go to a region like that one, they map out areas you call hotspots. They map out hyper candidates in every region. Usually you would have candidates who, at the slightest provocation, they are likely to turn tables. You have seen candidates in NRM and others who actually kick ballot boxes. You have seen candidates who punch election officials or the agents of others. So they map out this so that they are able to build, to prepare an appropriate response. And also, they bring candidates together to harmonize so that as much as possible, they lessen the tension among candidates. And I think that's a good engagement. I think there is an absurdity here that there are people who think, and the Honorable Salam Musumba thinks that the political parties are the main stakeholders. I think the contrary.
Primarily, yes.
Ugandan citizens and the public are the primary stakeholders. All of us represent, or ought to represent, when we go in our formation to meet the Electoral Commission, we go to represent, yes, the interest of our parties, but more the interest of the citizen, the public of Uganda. Now, I know very well that
you've attended the briefs, the security briefs.
Yes, I have.
Does the most recent prove to you that perhaps security could be better this time?
No, maybe if they didn't hold those sessions, they could have been worse. Maybe, if they did not. But this one I attended was after the NRM primaries, in preparation, because they are now drawing lessons. Because they were saying, if ABCD could happen in an internal election where people are supposed to be brothers and sisters, how about if they are going to face others? Won't it cascade into something else? So it was helping them to prepare.
So could security be more charged now for violence?
No, I don't think for violence, but they should be able, in my view, they should be able to prepare better, to neutralize threats before they actually explode. And by engaging candidates, and in that meeting they invited specifically parliamentary and LC5 candidates, because the higher you go, the stakes become higher and more challenging. Even this money you're talking about, yes, in LC1, LC2, councillor, people will use some money. But as you go upwards, the question of commercialization, extortion increases. And you had asked earlier, why probably are these? I think we have made elective offices in politics very, very lucrative by way of remuneration, but also with the hindsight, I think, when the courts ruled, for example, that people who have participated in the primary elections of their respective parties can become independent, I think inadvertently they fouled the atmosphere. And now the parties inside cannot apply hard rules to restrain, because somebody will say, you are restricting my behavior, I can move out. And you can see. And yet, inside us, we know that many of these people who run in FDC and they run in NRM and then they say we are now independent, they are actually just opportunists. They mean no good at all.
Thank you. Councillor Katana, we've highlighted quite a number of issues that could bedevil the forthcoming election. Apparently, I don't hear the opposition perhaps speaking jointly about sticky areas like the register, the biometric system that is being floated, and all that software that is being talked about.
I think maybe you have you have paid attention selectively, or because maybe of
no, I think we are too engrossed in the internal chaos.
No, I think speaking jointly does not require physical standing together. But when you are speaking from the same script, I think all the opposition actors have spoken about the irregularities. I can tell you for a fact that and I have heard even other actors, but we have talked about the hijacking of the update of the register by the security agencies instead of being done by Electoral Commission. All these issues have been talked about. But I think what happens in this country is that sometimes, and I don't know if deliberately, when there are things like these mass arrests, they distract the discussion from some of those issues, and much attention is given to the things that are the headlines. But these voices have been coming, and I can confidently say that while you may not see joint press conferences, there are discussions. And we are allies as opposition.
Do you prefer keeping it behind closed doors?
No, I think everything at the right time.
You seem to be speaking differently. While you say there are discussions, what appears on the fore is a huge split, fight for survival and self-preservation.
Simon, but it's being disingenuous. We were the last show here, last Thursday. Did the exchange between Mwanga Kivumba of NUP and Honorable Semoju point towards people who are having
but you see, Simon,
engagement on the common issues.
Simon, even in a political party, whether it is NRM, whether it is PFF, whether it is NUP, people can have different perspectives and views on a subject. So if the Honorable Mwanga and Honorable Semuju come here and are not speaking like a choir, it doesn't mean that there is...
okay, you are cooperating very well.
So, but everything at the right time.
Okay, you are cooperating very well on strategic issues.
Do you see a sense of a united front to confront or to surmount some of the challenges that are already glaring?
Common front for who?
The entire opposition and other stakeholders, concerned
for
stakeholders.
The citizen.
Yes.
This is not about political parties as an end in themselves. This is about citizens of the Republic of Uganda. We. And therefore, everybody over the series of elections, this country has mobilized itself. That's why you see the spontaneity of the things they do. Nepal is so instructive. Nepal of yesterday is very, very instructive. That communities, whether they are Asian, whether they are American or European or African, they are sick and tired of dysfunctional politics. And I love that. We need all to be sick and tired of this dysfunctional politics. And dysfunctional deliberately. You scatter parties, you steal money, you disempower communities. The only final result is to take matters in your hands and defend yourself. You saw how Nepal burnt down the city. I mean, the rage that is within people's hearts is what you cannot legislate about. It's what you cannot stop. So, the beauty of what we are doing is for us to organize better, to manage better, because we are doing this to ourselves. This is not colonialism. Is it?
Simon.
Maybe if it is, maybe it is.
May I
Interject, yes.
You know, Honorable Salam is coming from the FDC wing that spoke about defiance. And you remember in 2011, 2010, buoyed by the fallout of the economic collapse of 2008 and the so-called Arab Spring, which they did not understand at the time, that was engineered by CIA. Yes, there were underlying things in those countries, but the explosion was engineered by CIA. You remember they brought it here, that defiance, and they thought and all of them were quoting the examples of the Arab world, how Uganda would explode. Now,
he was also benefiting from the spring.
The vice president of PFF.
That one is not here.
Salam Musumba.
No, and the vice president of PFF is not here.
Is now leaping again now on Nepal. Uganda is not Nepal. And if you think Uganda is Nepal, you can come and burn down government buildings, including parliament. I wish you the very best.
You see, when you have a dysfunctional mind, an old one,
well,
like my brother, a dysfunctional old mind.
You think Uganda is Nepal, you can
It is not.
Yeah.
I
But
have,
you have just
the
quoted.
English, you see, when you paraphrase wrongly,
you have just
you only
quoted.
add to your dysfunctionality.
You have quoted it.
Oh, please proceed.
So,
No. Salam, please proceed.
Well, the citizen has been let down. Generations of let down. And therefore, it has led to a restless population. If you want to test what I am saying, just randomly ask at any border
Does this
stage.
restless population have a leadership to charge them, or rather to rally
It doesn't need a leadership. It is self-led, it's self-motivated. Does a fire have a leader? If a fire has a leader, then you can have the luxury of thinking and imagining that this is far-fetched. Because you have a restless young population, a young generation, whose future you have eaten. In fact, I was going by my office during the time of the SEC, of that meeting of NRM. And as I walked, young people stopped me. They said, "Oh, we watch you on Frontline." I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "We like you." I said, "Thank you." And then they whispered, "We ate our future." inside there in Kololo. They can acknowledge that they ate their future. They accepted money to do what the elders were asking them to do. So, if we do not stop to reflect on what we, the elders, are doing to prepare the future of a nation and get ourselves trapped into parties, talking recklessly about who we are and what we do, we have done a big job at holding dissenting views in an organized way. You can have a disorganized, if you're looking for an unorganized opposition, it's also there. But we are saying in a democracy, we want to keep our space as an organized opposition that you can do business with.
Thank you. Can a disjointed, Honorable Semuju, can a disjointed opposition that looks at each other with bad blood? Yesterday I was, to my shocker, I had voice from Fumbiro accusing Kabaziguruka for his wars. Does this speak to anything? Now, when you look even at the mayoral race in Kampala, daggers are out.
Major Waramira Roranga was responsible for prison. One group called the NRA in Ruel was also imprisoning itself. That's how Tinyefuza ended up in the ditch, guarded by Waramira Roranga. That's human nature, that there will be discipline. That discipline doesn't blind people who are in a group about the collective pursuit. It doesn't. Even in one organization, I know it is exciting to pick those few examples, but I don't want to give guarantees that even if we are one party that there will not be indiscipline. Even in our homes, the indiscipline is there.
Yeah, but these are significant, and they're quite telling, aren't they?
Tinyefuza is one of the historical members of the High Command. There are 7. That was at the highest level. He had been in prison. So it doesn't mean that when you climb higher, you change. I don't think all will change, even when it becomes MP for older persons. So the corrective view is that we must unite, because we all face the same threat. When JAT and SFC was corroborating journalists in Kawembe, I don't think the journalists were not united. That's how many of you withdrew from the field. We all face the same threat. They were beating journalists. Ofwono is accusing USJ. So they must find an answer.
No, but the one who was trying to praise him, I'm not accusing him. I said he must be a wonderful man in prison now.
He is. He was the one treating himself in the
That's okay.
He's been a very wonderful man all his life.
Yeah, that's his that was his historical mission then.
You are now praising.
That was his historical mission then.
By USG.
That was his historical
by making him Scott in
and Museveni made him, now we are the one enjoying his popularity.
That's what Kategaya said.
Museveni made him.
These people were praising Museveni.
Museveni made him, and if there's anything, you are now the one benefiting from what Museveni built.
So
in him.
The unity that USG is speaking about is not just the unity of political parties. It's the unity of the country. And USG doesn't have to be the one to lead it. But his desire remains of a free, democratic society. The journalists, this is a war for all of us. That's what has happened in Zimbabwe, Malawi, and everywhere. Because the moment you have a military government led by reckless people, they will not spare anyone. Even their own people will fall victims. I mean, if you've seen NRM primaries, they have shot and killed people in NRM primaries. And I don't know, they have now perfected the game. When it comes to us, I don't know what will happen. That in their own internal election, they can shoot and kill. The whole military and police, I saw in the Kamari of Kadaga, policemen lining up.
How come you didn't raise it?
I have raised it. So
Belatedly.
if you didn't hear, maybe you were too busy. So you had mortgaged yourself with this.
He was busy campaigning.
Somebody is following really NRM things keenly.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be stupid not
It's
to.
our business.
Yeah. So the discussion that we must have on the show here, you can moderate and have a discussion. You asking us questions, but outside the show, all of us must have a discussion on how to rescue.
Yeah, but how do you handle the shame
rescue
of a divided opposition that cannot put up a front to
It's not a shame.
counter?
It's not a shame.
I was in Entebbe, I've said this, I don't know how many times. When the factions in South Sudan fighting, we are meeting in Uganda. Even Museveni, when they were in the Mosh conference, there were more than 7 factions. The reason we are different political parties is because we don't agree on each and everything. If we are agreeing on each and everything, we will be one party. So these disagreements are normal.
Okay, what are the bare minimums that would cause you to sit together
With the Nandala.
handle some of the critical issues surrounding the
In
election?
Luzira,
with
maximum security, where Dr. Wesley and Obed are, is where Edemutwe is. So even if we choose not to unite here, this military junta will unite us at least in pain. Like they have done, one by one at least. If you can't,
you have been on this show and you said you can't meet the FDC of Amriat and Nandala.
yes, on matters of.
And yet you claim you stand for the same reason, to remove this shocking dictatorship.
Yeah, but Museveni had disagreement with Kaira. But when he captured the power, Kaira was the Minister for Energy before he was killed. Sometimes you speak so
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
It's the ideologue.
I am asking
the fate
you.
will
In
unite us.
Chankwanzi.
So you are waiting for fate to
You can
unite you
imagine.
with
It
Amriat.
is already with us.
Okay.
When Muhoz says, I will kill you this year, I will kill you this year, I've identified the tree, we are all waiting for our hour. And maybe you will find us there.
Thank you. Henry, as we take a break, there seems to be an array of issues. Where would you start from if you were to sanitize the forthcoming election?
First of all, I want to restore hope. Restore hope that when democracy is, remember we are in a very agrarian society. About 70% of our people survive in agriculture. The people where we copied democracy from, by the time they had that percentage of the people in agriculture, they didn't have any democracy. So we are doing well. We're not doing badly. So all these things of opposition, of division, and all these divisions, this is a process. And remember I told you democracy is a journey. You have to walk. So you have to hang in there. Time will come.
See,
now, so
me, one of my teachers said, you see, for us, we never had shoes when we were going to school. There are generations you will jab. That's why South Korea were at the same level of growth, 1962. They are now first world.
yeah, but at that
They didn't wait for
what was the system of governance? What was the system of governance at the time they grew? So you need to look at this thing. So when you ask that question, I think one of the things we can look up to is that at least we know that
So the silver lining is at least we know.
come that day in January next year,
The
election will be there. You see, eh?
But what type of election? Oh, that is secondary.
No. That election, like we said, is not going to be any different.
I don't want to disturb you.
Cannot be any different from what
You
we've
are
done.
misleading people who are watching you. 1996, I was a student at the university. Mr. Museveni nominated his rally at Kororo. The following day, Semogere nominated his rally at Kororo. We were more civil than we are today. When you are getting worse, you cannot say that we must. We are just getting worse.
Was that a democracy? Was that multi-party democracy?
The process was fairer than what it is today.
That's a one-party system we were
No,
in back in the
we
day.
had a choice.
We had a movement
We had
system,
a
one
choice.
system.
Listen, we had a choice.
Don't you have a
Democracy
choice?
is about choice.
Don't you have a choice? Now?
This is the choice we
Don't you have
want
a
to
choice now?
experience.
Now, the
A
argument
choice
is,
between
at least
Ofwono and
there will be a date
Opondo.
of
There will
election.
be a date of an
A choice
election.
between Ofwono and Opondo is no choice.
But you just left on your own volition, you left the FDC, you formed a new party. Isn't that a choice?
It wasn't a choice.
There has been retrogression. Since 1996 up to date, there has been retrogression.
On what?
He has given you an example, for example, that a candidate would be free after nominations to hold a rally and canvass for support. But today you have seen they have issued a proclamation that there are no processions, there are no rallies. You go get nominated and go to your house.
But,
how will the voters exercise choice without information?
Henry,
But
the floor is yours.
In 1996, there was no threat of the party in power losing its grip on power. Today, that possibility is there. Because if the people of Uganda choose to vote another party, then it has lost its grip on power. Back in 1996, we had one system of governance. It was a movement system. There was no democracy. You cannot describe that as
So the government in power that is organizing an election is very afraid of losing power.
Of course.
And they're coming out full throttle with brute force
Without
to
a
retain
doubt.
power.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And they would be stupid not to do so. Because power is for keeping.
So what does that mean of the election?
But there has to be parameters. Because we have chosen to go down the path we've called democracy, and there are parameters we must follow. For example, yes, you must fight to keep power, but through civil means.
But you have said power is for keeping.
Absolutely. But
And
that's
that
the
would
reality.
be stupid.
That's the
I mean,
reality.
you get power.
If PFF
You
get go to power
from
tomorrow,
FDC
they would
to
strive
FF.
to keep it.
That's
You can
one
never
way
give
you
it away
chose to
like
keep
this.
your power.
So it would be dependent on the challengers. But there has to be equal playing, a fair playing field. The political parties that are vying to take over power should be allowed to canvass and mobilize,
And they're allowed.
which they're not. No, nobody's allowing them now. So the situation is different.
Those are the ideals.
Those are the-
but
yeah.
the reality now is far different.
It is that they're threatening with the criminal intent.
There's no criminal intent.
That this is how we should
It's
be
paranoia.
governed. In the constitution. That is our minimum consensus as the people of Uganda. That is how we want to be governed. That when there are elections, this is how they are going to be conducted. But the NRM, because you are saying power is for keeping, they are saying we are keeping power by whichever means. If it means killing people, if it means rigging, if it means yes, because that's the imposition of what
The
you are
keeping
saying.
must be within the parameters
What
of the
ourselves
law.
to elect for elections with you.
Those are
No,
our
you see, for example, when the NRM people were conducting their business, they even closed the roads in Kololo. They closed that Chadondo road, like for a week. But for just one day, candidates from across political parties to conduct any activity, it's illegal. The other day I saw Uhuru, who is running. He had a procession going to be nominated, but they are saying there are no processions. If you are from the opposition, then they will tear gas you, they will arrest you.
Procession of his councillors.
It was a convoy. You don't even distinguish
No,
between
it was a procession. You are not there. You said you are not. It was a procession. What I meant was a procession.
No, maybe you met it in a dream.
I met a procession.
In a dream.
I met a
Oh,
procession.
okay, Henry, I want to take it back to you.
So, but I also because me
There's a
sometimes-
big elephant, but where do you start from in slaughtering?
So, I always want to go down the path of hope. Now, you look at the party that all these are, you know.
Power for keeping and there's hope.
Yes, come on, we cannot lose hope. But that's the reality. Power is for keeping. But you see, if you look at the party they are trying to wrestle power from, it is a party that has not done well in terms of changing and to suit the changes in the times. And when a party that came as a revolutionary movement fails to do that, then you would know that it's going to become predatory. Mm-hmm. That's what it has become. It will suddenly eat itself. So it's a party that is not getting stronger from what you are seeing. But you see, it would be at its ruthless, if that word exists. It will be more ruthless when it is feeling weak. It is a party that is not feeling stronger. It is challenged with internal divisions and so on. So the ambition and the determination to now keep its grips on power increases. And therefore, if it is controlling the instruments of coercion, then you're bound to see this. But we should never lose hope. There is always a way. And what they have to do is that they should not allow it the luxury of disorganizing.
Let's be a little specific. When you're highlighting some of the key things that could bedevil the election, you can't, of course, ignore the role of the military. Do you think this is going to be more of a militarized election than ever?
Yeah, as it has always been, it is going to be more militarized than 2021, certainly.
Or do you agree that this is going to be a militarized election?
Absolutely not. First of all, the constitutional mandate, the military and security services together, is to keep stability, law and order, tranquility.
You heard who is accrediting now?
I don't see either the police or the military as a rogue institution. There may be rogue elements, but that's not the mainstay of the UPDF or even the police. If they were the mainstay of the military and the police and the intelligence services was rogue, you wouldn't sit here.
Thank you.
And therefore, I want to borrow from him also. I have every hope that with all these engagements, our military, our police are learning and are going to change for the better. And we who lead them are in the posture of changing for the better. That does not mean mistakes may not occur.
The army actually has endorsed the candidate.
In Kawempe,
through its chief of defense forces.
I am not aware.
In Kawempe,
80%.
In Kawempe, the Koraije, the spokesperson, said for them they cannot be engaged in election, they are in Congo. You are not in Kawempe. Then Mohoz Kainerugawa was thanking those military that was in Kawempe. On polling day, you had a mamba. The law says you can't even carry an AK-47 at a polling station. But you had a mamba at all polling stations. I think the worst election in the recorded history of Uganda. So this military is not a rogue military.
It's not. Yes, that might have been a mistake, an overreaction, but it's not the mainstay of our election.
Thank you. Mr. Katana, as we take a break, do you think Kawempe gave the country a foretaste of everything that could go wrong in 2026?
Certainly, it did. And contrary to what Honorable to be Ofwono is saying, that there are some rogue elements. I think it is the army that has gone rogue, and it's on account of the fusion that I mentioned, that the army looks at itself as an extension of the political machinery of the incumbent. So whenever there is a contestation, it is you are contesting against the state. There is even a new element, not necessarily very new, in the violence in the politics of our country. The co-opting of criminal gangs. It's not new. Previously, there has been a Karangar Action Plan, there has been Chiboko Squad, but now you have seen, for example, in the Kawempe by-election, the army, the security forces were operating side by side with gangs. You saw when the NRM candidate was going to pick his nomination papers, I think, at the NRM Secretariat, you saw how the criminal gangs that were guarded conducted themselves on the streets of Kampala. The other day, when the Honorable Balimwezo, who is the NUP candidate now for the position of Lord Mayor, was from nomination exercise, his convoy was attacked by a gang. So that's now, that interaction, I think, should give you an indication of what is going to happen. And whenever these criminal gangs interact with the state establishment, they get emboldened. You see what has been happening in Haiti. It's on account of what the political leadership at the time
Under the
encouraged.
circumstances, what would you do now that even your groups are being arrested day in, day out, and they're being disrupted?
As in, if I were the commander in
No,
chief
as NUP,
Yes.
you're participating in this.
No, I think for the people of Uganda, not necessarily NUP, I think we shouldn't compartmentalize this discussion. Is that we have two choices. One is to surrender, the other is to fight on. And I think for us, we have made our choice, is to fight on.
Can a Gari work?
Well, whether it is Gari, whatever name you give it, but I have told